Hello, everyone. I'm attorney Justin Lovely, and I'm here with my wife and my law partner, Miss Amy Lawrence Lovely. This is another edition of the Carolina Justice Report videocast and podcast. We're glad that you followed us. We're glad that you're listening to us on iTunes or wherever you consume your media. We've got another episode for you today. We're going to change things up today. Instead of trying to educate you about a certain legal topic, while you may pick some things up, we're going to try to really deep dive into a couple case studies that we've recently done in the office. One's going to be about dog bites and dog bite litigation in general. And we know you've heard about us talk about this in the past, and we just want to let you hear some more perspectives. And so you're, again, educated on the front end in case this happens to your family. And the second case study we're going to dive into is, if you're hit by a drunk driver and what you can do as a drunk driving victim. So we're going to go through these things today and kind of teach you some more things and let you hear it from some of our clients and kind of go from there. So, Amy, what's going on today? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. You doing okay?
I'm doing great. The weather's changed, but we're rocking and rolling down here in Myrtle Beach. So we want to bring in, everybody always hears me, Amy and I talk, we want to bring in attorney Sarah Alston, and she is an associate of ours who is doing some real great work here in Myrtle Beach, and she's done a lot of great job for our clients. And she's really worked on these two case studies that we've kind of talked to today. So let's bring in Sarah Alston. We're making her work from the office, unfortunately.
Hey, Justin. Hey, Amy.
Sarah, how you doing today?
Hey, Sarah.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good.
Doing great. So let's talk about dog bites, and you've talked about this in the past, and we've shot some other podcasts and video casts with you where we've kind of discussed different aspects of dog bite litigation. But specifically for our purposes, let's talk about one that's near and dear to our heart. That was a great result. And that's the Lugine Kelly case.
Yeah.
Kind of give us just a background on what happened to Lugine, and let's walk our audience, what the whole process was and how we helped her.
Sure. So when Lugine came to us, she was bit by a dog on her face. And so this injury was especially traumatic for Lugine, who was in the beauty industry. She was an actress. And so there aren't really words to describe how this dog bite really affected her mental health and her career. And so I'm out.
Yeah, so it's, that definitely affects everybody differently. She came to us with these injuries. What's the first thing that we do? So we've signed the client at this time. It's early on in the case. I remember I personally met with Lugine and we signed her up, and, we definitely took pictures. Pictures make these cases. But after we get that, we get the pictures, we've got our fee agreement, we've got our HIPAA medical release. What do we do next with dog bites, and especially in her case?
So the dog bite investigation and startup is kind of twofold. First, we start gathering information. We gather information about the dog owner, about insurance policies, about the dog, and we get all that from DHEC and from the client. And then we also had to help Lugine work through her injuries. So she obviously did treatment such as, she had stitches, she got her stitches removed, but then she also went to see a plastic surgeon to have scar revision estimates so that she could plan for her future. And we do all that we start doing that as soon as the client walks through the door. So we started that immediately with Lugine.
And as you know, and our audience needs to be made aware, the biggest issue and the most important aspect of these cases, you can have all the injuries in the world with a dog bite, but if we can't find insurance coverage, there's pretty much nothing we can do if there's no assets to attach to through a lawsuit. So yeah, we get our investigation team rocking and rolling. We pull that DHEC report. That DHEC report, they're required under our law, the animal control officer, to really do a detailed report and give us a lot of information. And then we also, you may have mentioned this, but when we send that FOIA request on that address where the dog bite happened, we can get a lot of good information and nuggets that come back from those, if there was a prior bite or anything else that happened at that household. So in Lugine's case, obviously she went through the motions. She got her plastic surgery estimate, which is something that we have a great network of doctors, thank God, that can help our clients put a value on these future procedures. So she had that done. At that time, it kind of moves to a settlement demand phase, and luckily we did have insurance in this case. So kind of touch on that.
Sure. So fortunately, in this case, there was homeowners insurance to cover this dog bite and Lugine's damages. And so when we had gathered all the information, we sent a settlement demand to the insurance company. And in Lugine's case, which is common in almost all dog bite cases, we got a very low offer from the homeowners insurance company pre-suit before we filed a lawsuit.
Yeah, so they were normally we try to get these things worked out, without the client having to go through the stress and the drama and the time frame of this long litigation process. But at the same time, if an insurance company's jerking us around, jerking our clients around, we have no choice. We got to level the playing field. And that kind of happened in here where we looked at the file, we looked at the pictures, and we said, hey, this is something they should pay on. And they lowballed us, right? And they just kind of drug their feet on the whole file. So what was the next step then that we had to do?
Right. So the turning point in Lugine's case was when we filed the lawsuit. And I think the reason that dog bite offers pre-suit are so low is because a lot of homeowners insurance companies operate on a national scale, or they have adjusters who are out of state. Out-of-state adjusters aren't really going to know South Carolina dog bite law and specifically the strict liability statute. So out-of-state adjusters will try to put fault on the client or things like that don't really work in South Carolina because we have that strict liability statute. So once we file the lawsuit, it goes to a South Carolina insurance defense attorney's hands. And these attorneys know the law, they know about strict liability, and the negotiations go a lot smoother even just after we file the lawsuit. I think in Lugine's case, the offer actually doubled right when we filed it, as soon as we heard from the attorney.
But we weren't done then, and that's one of the great things. We kept negotiating, and we told them this pre-suit that once we start in our office, when we start the lawsuit, the litigation process, we're going feet to the fire. We're all in.
We're all in.
And I mean, we're not just going to take some BS offer that you're going to call us after we've already done all this litigation work, because it is a lot of work. It's a lot more work on you as the attorney, on us as the legal team, on us as an office, on the paralegals, and it puts a lot of stress on the client because it's stretching these time frames out.
And the cost goes up.
Absolutely. So you increase costs, and it's just a lot more work to sum it all up.
So once we start that process, we're all in. And it's a lot more work, but we also have a lot more tools that we can use to investigate and discover even more information. And so one of the good things that happened after we filed the lawsuit in Lugine's case is we were able to discover that the dog had bitten someone before, and that the owners actually knew the dog was prone to biting people and sort of an aggressive dog. And so we were able to negotiate punitive damages in Lugine's case, and that really increased the value of our case so that we could get it resolved.
And you did a great job on this case, Sarah. And this is a case study that, I think that can shed some light on this issue of dog bites and, can really, again, you hear me preach this, educate everybody on the front end. But, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but let's just hear what Lugine has to say about this.
I suffered a traumatic injury. I was at a party.
Lugine was attacked by a dog at her neighbor's home.
I was familiar with the dog and pulled him up on my lap, and next thing I knew, he spun around and he mauled my nose. A good portion of the ball of my nose had been not bitten off completely, but taken to the side, and puncture wounds all around, so it had to be reattached. I, at the time, felt my life was over as I knew it. I had a dual career as a model and actress, but also in the aesthetic field. For good or bad, my face was everything. It's how I earned a living.
When I first met Lugine, not only did she have these physical issues, but the confidence, that was her number one damage, I guess, in this case. And so the hard part for us as a law firm is, how do you put a value on that?
Initially, the one thing I remember is him looking at me, because I know I was shaking and probably not too coherent. He kept looking at me going, "You're going to get through this. You're going to get through this." And I just believed him.
The insurance company didn't value Lugine, and the insurance company almost never values that trauma and those non-economic damages that people suffer after they're bitten by a dog. They want to look at it as a numbers game only. You got stitches, you didn't get an infection, you're fine, take this and go. When it can take years to put your life back together after something like this happens to you. And we're willing to take it as far as we need to get you what you deserve.
I feel very cared about by the lovely law firm. Every time I called, "Lugine, how are you?" I didn't have to tell them who I was, what my story was over and over again. They knew me.
that was definitely a priority in our office. I made sure everyone in our office knew about her case. We work as a team on these cases. I'm glad our team was able to get her back to as best as we possibly could to how she was before the animal bite.
You know, it's always the best feeling to be able to help people like Lugine, because she's just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside.
And Lugine is getting back into her beauty role. She's getting back into her acting, and she's really enjoying life down here, retired in Myrtle Beach. And so we're honored that she was a client, and that she was, we're able to tell her story. She's able to tell her story. And Sarah, great job on that one. Now, switching up a bit, so another area of law that we practice, and we practice very well, in my opinion, is representing victims of drunk driving. And you've heard us talk about Dram Shop cases where we pursue overserved or the bars or restaurants who overserve drunk drivers. But we also pursue the drunk driver themselves, okay? And another case that we handled is the case of William Lane. He was another great guy, working man here, and local guy down here in Horry and Georgetown counties. And Sarah also worked on his case. So Sarah, let's kind of talk about the William Lane file and kind of what William went through, and let's educate our people again.
Sure. So when William came to us, he was the victim of a very drunk driver. And so the first thing that the lovely law firm does when we get DUI injury cases is we begin our investigation. And that investigation is so crucial, and it's important that we do it almost immediately or as close to the accident as possible, because critical evidence can be lost. Videos are lost and things aren't there. And so in William's case, we always do, we begin our investigation almost immediately.
Yeah, we had our private investigator out there immediately, surveying the scene, getting pictures of everything. We were in contact with the police department, asking for the videos, getting on it very, very quickly.
Yeah, and so we begin our investigation quickly, and of course we're looking for Dram Shop actions where a bar overserved the drunk driver, because in that case there's more insurance money for our clients. And in this case, we didn't find that. The drunk driver was not overserved at a bar. He was just drinking at his house. But because we were so thorough and we jumped on everything, we actually found out that the drunk driver had a pretty lengthy criminal history. And this was not even his first, second, or third DUI charge. He was a habitual drunk driver in our community.
Yeah, unbelievable. And people need to realize they're out on our roads, especially, I think this happened, during the COVID time. So we're seeing more and more of that out here. And people, William Lane is not the only victim of these kind of cases. I mean, unfortunately, drunk drivers are still getting behind the wheel more and more and more. And people move down here. They don't know our laws. They don't know our roads. And unfortunately, that results in accidents. Avoidable accidents. So going back to, Sarah, William's case, kind of tell us what happened next and what William's perspective was.
Of course. So when we found out that the drunk driver had a pretty lengthy criminal history, this was not his first rodeo, this was not his first DUI, I sent a demand letter to the insurance company, putting them on notice of that. And they sent all the money right away. They paid out immediately, which was rare. But in cases like this, when we have that criminal history, it happens. Normally we have to wait for documents to come back from the police department through a FOIA request, and the investigation takes a little bit longer. But in William's case, we didn't even get those documents back from the police department before the insurance company went and paid out, because of how egregious this conduct was and how often this person drove drunk.
Right. And so that goes back to your point. I mean, we did a great job at the lovely law firm getting on it as soon as possible. And that's what we do for all our clients, getting the investigation done so that we're ready. We already know what's going on. And the insurance company, when they saw our investigative notes, we didn't even have the FOIA back, like you said. I mean, and this is unheard of, because normally our cases take sometimes, 11 months to a year and a half to get resolved. And we were able to resolve this one much, much sooner due to the great work that you did and then our investigative team. So good job, Sarah.
Thanks.
And I know that
it's so important to gather everything you can, because in these kinds of cases, you just never know what's going to be useful. And so doing a thorough investigation from the start really ends up paying off for the client.
Yeah, and that's how we treat every case like that, because you never know. And sometimes, maybe not in this case, but sometimes it's not so evident that the person was drunk. And there's been files where we've done a great investigation and our PI comes back and says, hey, man, this guy was drinking at bar X, bar Y, bar Z. Next thing you know, what we think might be a minimum insurance policy case is turned into a 7-figure case. So the investigative things that you were mentioning is great for our clients, and it's great work that we do for these survivors of these DUI victims. But so William's case, it was quick. He was very happy with it. He had other things going on in his life, and this case study is one that we just really wanted to get out there, because some people just may not come forward with these kind of cases or think they can handle it on their own. But there's just more to it than that. And so let's hear and roll from William Lane and kind of see what he has to say about this.
When the wreck happened, I sat there for a few minutes trying to get my wits together.
William was hit by a drunk driver one night.
As I'm coming up, there's 2 cars in front of me, and they're slowing down to a stop. First car stops completely, second one does too. I kind of creep up behind them, and I come to a complete stop. And then out of nowhere, it's just a big bang.
The guy that hit him, the at-fault driver, was a habitual DUI guy. He was a habitual drunk.
Fortunately, Will took photos, knew what kind of questions to ask, and to keep him on the scene until the police got there. A lot of our clients don't know to do that, though.
So if you're hit by a drunk driver, the first thing you need to do is call us or call a lawyer that really understands punitive damages and everything that goes along with that.
The whole time frame of it was in a bad time. My wife had been diagnosed with some medical issues, and we were dealing with that. I had just got where I could return back to work, and now all of a sudden I'm out of a vehicle too. So yeah, it was kind of stressful.
The sooner you call us, we can get our investigator involved. A lot of the times that evidence will disappear if you wait even a couple of days. There's evidence in the car, there's evidence, the person, if they're willing to talk before insurance companies get involved and things like that. So all of it is really time critical, and it's really important we jump on it and preserve everything that you can.
I never expected it to be over this fast. I was figuring, 8-9 months by the time everything was said and done. It's only been 4 months. Already got another vehicle. All that's in the rear view, so it was very quick. They handled everything as far as setting me up with the rental, as far as checking in with making sure I was getting to the doctors that I need. They handled everything. I had to do nothing but show up.
We went after every available avenue of recovery for William. We went after the property damage, we went after the bodily injury, all of it, and went after the punitive side of it as well, and it all worked out.
It was awesome to come to such a good result for Will so quickly. That doesn't always happen, and it couldn't have happened to a better person or for a better family.
William's story happens to so many people, and it's very important that we can try to stop drunk driving as best we can. And one of the ways that we can try to do that is to try to make these changes in the system itself, and that's by representing these people in civil court. And that's what, Sarah was able to do to get her good recovery for William Lane. William's back with his family now. They're doing great. We're glad that he's a client of ours, and we have no doubt that he's a client for life. And he can turn to us to be his trusted legal advisor in the Myrtle Beach community. Well, everybody, I think that's enough for these 2 case studies. We'll be back to you again next week. This has been the Carolina Justice Report. Look for us on wherever you consume social media or consume your podcast, videocast. We're going to be there. And if you need any questions answered, reach out to us. And if you want some topics discussed, reach out to us. We'll be glad to accommodate you. Again, I'm Attorney Justin Lovely. This is Attorney Amy S. Lawrence, and we'll see you next time.